Hi, everybody. Welcome again to our next guest with Donna and Sandrine, and I am Donna. As the series is about just getting started, again, let me just take a brief moment to explain to you what we are all about. Our next guest is where the real stories come to life from the people behind the titles, and you can expect from all of our guests to take you on a little journey into their industry, their know how, and their knowledge and expertise. They come from all walks of life, from all industries, from business, from academia, and everything in between. What we try to do here is uncover the moments, the mindsets, and all the missteps and earnings from their experience. And in each episode, we invite someone either from our personal network, someone that wanted to be here, someone we got introduced to, someone we admire, someone with a story worth sharing. And today's guest, we are both really excited to introduce her to you, is Chloé de Ruffray, trend forecaster, longevity and wellness expert, and also mentor. Chloé, welcome and welcome to our next guest.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Sandrine, for having me. I'm super excited for this conversation.
Yes, we are. I mean, Chloe, you blend, like, as Donna well said, like cultural strategy, trend intelligence, sharp human insight. And with your background, like in social and political science, we are really, really excited to dig in more into the topics you're passionate about. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.
So before we start and maybe like jump into the core of the subject that that we will dig in, I'm curious, Chloe, because we saw that you took part of a couple of events, conference and panels. What brings up like all your energy? Is there maybe like a song that you have like in your head when you come on stage? And if yes, what's that?
I love the question.
I love the smirk.
I was, I was not ready for this one. Uh, there is one song. It's not the song that I have in mind when I go on stage, but it's a song that really motivates me to keep me going and to give me like a lot of energy. I mean, like, probably because it reminds me like my younger years when I was living in Berlin, Germany. It's the song I forgot from whom it is, but She's a Maniac from you remember? I don't remember the singer.
Yeah.
But if you watch the video clip, it's amazing, and everything about this video and about the rhythm is amazing. It just like you listen to this song and you have like this surge of energy. And so I'm sorry to disappoint you, Sandrine. I don't have a song when I'm about to enter the stage, but if I have like a moment where I need this extra energy, then I would listen to this song because it really like keeps me going and
So
gives me like
curious now. I don't know which one it is. I'm so curious to know.
you know it. I mean, like, I'll send it to you afterwards. I know that you know it, and we could even like play a bit of it because it's like
Oh,
it's very special.
Can you sing it, Chloe, or is that too much
Oh
to add?
no, 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 no. We have bright sun here in Orléans, so I don't want to ruin the weather and your ears as well. So I'm not gonna, and I'm not gonna dance either.
Damn it, we're missing on that one. But
Next time.
next time. Talking about like dancing, and as Donna will said, like one of your topic or one thing that you are really keen or expert on is the topic of wellness. Could you please like take us through your journey, like what because you are a trend forecaster, you are at the same time like a longevity expert and wellness expert, and what is the journey like? How did you come up with what you're doing now? Really curious.
Yeah, I love that question because it's kind of forces me to go back, in the past to try to understand how things happened. And every time I think about wellness, and how I decided to incorporate wellness or to address wellness in my work as a trend forecaster, it all started with an interview that I did in 2015 with Dr. Langer from Harvard University. And Dr. Langer was the first one to talk about what we know now as mindfulness,
Mm.
uh, and the impact of consciousness and mindfulness on daily life. And so I did interview her for a project that I was working on about efficiency. So, what does efficiency mean? Um, for people, for Western societies. And so she walked me through this concept. And back then, imagine 10 years ago, no one was talking about mindfulness or anything like that. And it really kind of sparked my curiosity because I was a bit already into yoga, that kind of thing, but it kind of accelerated everything. So it's, yes, I decided to dedicate more time to it and to dedicate also more energy to it. So I started to practice a bit more. I remember doing my first meditation challenge with my best friend every morning for 30 days for 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. We did like this meditation. We signed up for a program. I don't even remember the name. Um, and yeah, and I started to see how I felt like different. And so I was like, okay, I really want to understand what this is and how all these little practices that we have available can actually transform people's life. But I wanted to look at it from like a social cultural perspective because this is what my work roots in. So this is how everything started, and since then I never looked back. I then moved, was living in Germany. I then moved to Portugal. I did my first yoga training and meditation training near Lisbon. And then I started teaching yoga and meditation, and I started to get also more and more projects around beauty and wellness. I kind of, really wanted to be identified with this field. And yeah, this is how everything started. And then for me now, it really feels natural. It's really like a topic that feels so rich and at the same time so profound. And I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to talk about it. But I think that some key aspects of wellness nowadays are overlooked because they are not looked at from the right angle, I would say. Yeah, they're sold to people instead of being lived, let's say. So people think they have to buy to feel well, and it's not the case.
That's so nice. Nice of you to say that because, of course, I think we can all sort of see and experience this whole commercial push towards wellness, right? So would you say that it was that it happened to be part of your aspiration as well, how you got into it? Because I mean, you already had this natural curiosity, and so you made this happen for yourself. Would you say that that's how you came to be this wellness or go into this wellness area?
Yes, I would say so. And actually the same with trend forecasting. I don't know if Sandrine knows the story because we've known each other for some years now, but it also happened like this. Like I read about trend forecasting in a magazine back then, like a proper magazine, and I decided that this is what I wanted to do. And then I started to like think about ways I could enter this industry. And then the same with wellness, the same with longevity. So I think I once I found something and I'm really like passionate about it, I would just go all in. And of course I have doubts like everyone, but I will try to, as much as I can, to like regulate them so they don't prevent me from going where I really want to go, and I think I'm called to go as well.
Mhm. I found really interesting because you just mentioned like trend forecasting, and correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, Chloe. But when you started trend forecasting, you started like in the industry of fashion, right? Or so, and fashion. I mean, Donna has been an expert in that field. Has been also working in fashion, and fashion brings like a lot. It's really aspirational. There is like a lot to say about fashion, and this is also more than the doing, the lifestyle. It's also like a way of being, but there is more depth into mindfulness. So I'm really interested in knowing what really clicked. What was really the turning point where you felt like, okay, I'm gonna move like from trend forecasting fashion to trend forecasting, like maybe wellness.
I think it was pretty natural. Back then, I wanted to work in fashion. So I started my career in fashion. And then I discovered that actually you could do trend forecasting for many other industries. Um, but my main focus was fashion. And then when I went freelance in 2014, I started to get projects in the beauty field a lot. I would say 80% of my projects were beauty related. And so this is when I decided to just surrender to it, let's say, and accept that maybe fashion was not my path and beauty was. And then from beauty to wellness, from wellness to longevity, and everything is connected in the end. But I think at some point in life, it's good to just be, like to release control as much as you can and see where life leads you. It's not always easy, and but sometimes you really have good surprises because if I would have forced it or like being like, no, I want to work in fashion, then maybe I wouldn't be there where I am today. So, and that would be kind of sad, I think.
You
Yeah.
followed your passion.
Yeah, and also like intuition, of course, but also what life was offering me. The saying like, if life gives you lemon, then you can do like a lemonade. And I think this is a really good metaphor for what life can be. Sometimes you don't know why things happen to you,
Yeah.
and then, yeah.
Mm.
Mm. Mm.
Mhm.
I think
Um,
wellness is one of those areas where, with the how would you say that? Like with the development of technology and with so much changing in our human experiences work-wise, I think wellness is one of those areas that can really bring us peace of mind. I see also with some of the women that I mentor, but also myself, sometimes we're so incredibly busy. We go from one meeting to another meeting to another meeting, and we hardly ever take the time to just bring ourselves down. And you mentioned meditation. I have the hardest time understanding how to meditate. I mean, I try, and I just feel like there's something I'm not doing right. Maybe you have to teach me once how to properly meditate, because it's one of those things where I feel I should be meditating, but I have no clue what to do really. How do you see that with people embracing wellness more or using it as a way to calm down, to de-stress, to let go of the hustle and bustle of their day-to-day work? How do you see that?
Um, so first, just to go back to what you were saying about meditation, there are no right or wrong way to meditate, and you're not obliged to. If this is not like your path, then there are like other ways to bring more calmness and consciousness to your day, like for sure, like breath work, walking, playing some music, aromatherapy. So there are like a lot of ways. Of course, meditation is something a bit like different, but it's not for everyone, and that's absolutely fine. Um, and what I see is quite interesting because on one end, as you were saying, Donna, there are a lot of people who are like craving for. It's not even wellness. It's like better being, betterness. They want to feel
Mhm.
better, and but they're looking like for the hacks, like the thing that will be like life changing in a fraction of seconds. But this is not how it works. You will always feel better after a sport session or a breathwork session or walk. Always. Like, I bet you to find someone who will say the contrary. I don't know anyone who would say that. But you will really like improve your well-being by being consistent. And I think this is something that people struggle a lot with, maybe because they have like they're too ambitious, they want to do a lot of different things, because also like we have so many options. One of the most difficult things these days, in my opinion, is to make a decision. What do I want to choose? What is the best for myself? And it's difficult because we're bombarded with like information that sometimes even
Mhm.
are contradictory. So it's very difficult to find what suits us. And this is why people will jump from one thing to another, right? Plus you add like the hype layer. Um, but it's important because it's not a matter of well-being and wellness is just a way for us to lead our life with success and pride and joy. Like we need those moments to recover, to stop, to recharge, like everything in life, you know, like nature, animals, even your phone. At some point your phone is dying, you need to recharge it. So
Yeah.
it's like almost like a low, you know, in life. So yes, it's part of our daily. Or it's it's part of. It should be part, and I'm not saying should in the way of you should do that, but yes, if you want to feel good, even 1 minute makes a difference
Mm.
for real.
Um, Talking about like the aspect of like wellness, mindfulness, and recharging like yourself and recentering yourself. Um, what is maybe on a lighter note, and then we can dig in even further. But what is your trick or the way that you recharge yourself aside of meditation? Because as we say, you are an entrepreneur, you are carrying so many hats at the same time. um what is like your beautiful escape, let's put it that way, like to recenter and recharge yourself?
I mean, like I have many, and since becoming a mother last year, I would be lying if I would tell you that I have the same amount of time and I have the same energy to dedicate to my practice and to my life in general. So I choose my battle and really try to tune in with myself to see what I need in this moment. So it could be like something simple as just going onto we have like a terrace that we are like decorating with a lot of trees and just going out for 2 minutes and breathe from fresh air, going and hugging my daughter to just give my life some perspective if I'm having a hard moment. Could be stretching. I found stretching to be an incredible tool to feel better and to feel more uh, energized and just feel more alive as well.
No, totally fair, and thanks a lot for sharing. And sorry for going back like to the topic, because your journey is fascinating. So you've been working like across fashion, lifestyle, but also like beauty. And those industry have been for so long fixated on youth, and still, huh? They are preserving youth. They are, because like you're worth it, you're gonna be like beautiful, until the end of your life, and you will look like 20, if not like 30. Um, what drove you like to challenge this narrative and move like to longevity, wellness, and to this level of consciousness that you just discussed before?
I mean, I really love this question because I never looked at fashion or beauty from this perspective and from this lens. So it was like a very good exercise for me to think about it. I don't think that my goal was to challenge the narrative. I think that now we live in a society that is evolving, that now we understand that youth is not eternal. What people are chasing and looking for is more like vitality and energy. This is what will preserve them on the long run. Um, and now fashion is going to its own, challenges with sustainability and that kind of thing. So uh, it was not me. It was just like the natural cycle of those industry that was very satisfying to watch and very interesting to be part of when I was more working in those industry. And for me, longevity was um, one of those moments, just like the interview with Dr. Langer 10 years ago, those moments where there was a before and after, when I had the chance and opportunity to interview one of the leading female longevity expert in the US. Her name is Kayla Barnes, and I had a conversation with her, was interviewing her for a project that I was working on about beauty and innovation in the US. And she really challenged my view on, yes, on life. You know, she was talking about
How
things
did
I've
you?
never heard of, like longevity, biohacking. She was telling me about all the things that she was doing, habit stacking, what she was doing on a daily basis to preserve her youth, and not only her youth, but her vitality, and to live like a long, full life. And I think what was fascinating for me is that I'm a person who is quite like, I have a lot of discipline. I have a lot of structure. I'm like, one of those boring
Yes, I can
persons
tell.
who needs like routines. And there she was, like this amazing woman who also had routine, but next level. Like, and for me, I was like, okay, I want a next level life. And so I really started to dig in. But in France, it was like this topic was very, not even emerging, was non-existent. And when people were talking about biohacking, it was like one of the things that those crazy Americans do again. Now things are starting to change. But for me, what I found really interesting in longevity is um, having options, and challenging the narratives. In this case, yes, you can challenge a narrative. We've been told certain things, but now we start to understand that age reversal is a reality. We can slow down aging. Aging is a mindset. This is also what, for example, Dr. Langer from our university found out in one of her studies, that aging is a mindset, happens a lot in the mind. Um, so all those things that really showed me that it's not about staying young forever. And between us,
Mm.
I mean, your 20s, I mean, don't we feel better now in our 30s and 40s and 50s
Mm.
than in 20s? When you're 20, you need to figure out everything. Everything is a disaster. Everything is chaotic. It's, oh, God, just like thinking about that, I'm just like,
Don't say that to the people listening in their 20s. It's a
yeah,
disaster.
I'm sorry. Things get better and better and better. That's my message. And knowing that impact, we now know that the main problem we have in the West is that people live an average like 10 years of their life sick. So at the end of their life, most of them are sick. And this is what, among other things, what longevity is targeting. It's not about living longer, it's about living long in a better shape. And this
Yeah.
is fascinating to me. And
Yeah.
this is fascinating when I'm talking to people who are in their 30s and doing a lot of prevention because they want to live a long, full life. This is like an ode, like a love letter to life. For me, this is like, of course, it's a rebranding as well. Longevity is just rebranding of prevention, but it's more sexy and it works. So we just take it. It works, we take
Mhm.
it.
Mm.
But there is a moment where we need to acknowledge that, yes, it's we want to live, but we want to live a good life. And what can we do to live a good life?
Mhm.
And seeing so many, because now in my ecosystem, there are a lot of doctors and scientists, seeing those people dedicated to make life better for everyone. This is another, like myth about longevity. Longevity is not only for the super wealthy people. It's like a myth. It's like what
Mhm.
people want you to believe. It's not true. It's
Mm.
like, yeah, I could go on and on that topic.
Yeah. There are, and I had to, of course, look up some things before we did this interview, and I have actually two questions for you. But maybe first, a little intro on this whole biohacking that you also mentioned, because I think we've probably all heard of biohacking before. I mean, I had heard of it, but what it really, the true definition, I had to look it up, which is basically DIY for your body. It's about using science, tech, and lifestyle tweaks to feel better, live longer, and perform at your very best. Whether that's through cold plunges, I've read stuff about fasting, red light therapy, stem cells. I think of it as sort of like a personalized wellness taken to a next level. Then, of course, you have now these trends, and I think there are two that most people will be familiar with, which is Brian Johnson, that tech millionaire that has put all his wealth towards his physical wealth and health. I think there's also now a documentary on Netflix, Don't Die, The Man Who Wants to Live Forever. So he is showing how he is actually looking at how to slow down his biological aging. And then, of course, there's Wim Hof, Dutch, who is famous for his ability to withstand these incredibly cold water plunges. And, it's supposed to be beneficial for reducing stress, improved circulation, enhanced focus, increased energy. Two questions about that is one, what do you think of this whole biohacking hype? And second, while I was doing this research, I found that it's a trend, it's a male trend that we as women shouldn't actually be following because of our, you know, the difference between men and women, the hormones, everything that's imbalanced. So maybe those two questions. One, what is this hype? What do you think about it? And second, what should we as women be careful of?
Um, so first, I think that yes, biohacking, I don't know if it's a trend, at least it's like a shift. People now understand that they have more tools and more power than they thought to hack their biology, but also their environment. Because when we talk about biohacking, we need to integrate the environment you live in. So your apartment, the air that you breathe when you're at home, the water that you drink, all that kind of thing. So it's not only the body and the mind, but it's also like your environment, right? Um, and to me, like it's fascinating because there is like also like a cultural dimension to it. One of the reasons why we find it so extreme, it's because we know that, in the American culture that is a bit obsessed with control and performance, this is their view on biohacking, right? But what they are offering, like all the things that you mentioned, cold plunge and fasting, and also like sauna, those are things that people have been doing for quite some time in a lot of cultures, right? Especially like fasting and also like in religion and in different religions, sorry, and um, um, sauna in Scandinavia, or like being in contact with the heat. So I think what is really new here is to combine everything and to create a lifestyle around it where your life is dedicated to optimize your well-being, your health, and your environment. Um, so for me, who loves this idea of betterment and optimization, and again, not only for the sake of performance, but because I think that um, it's fantastic to progress. It's fantastic to be each day a bit better. At least for me, it's like this is something that excites me. So this idea that I can optimize my biology to feel better, to be less tired, to digest better, to whatever that is, I find it fascinating. So we have like a lot of tools, but there is with everything like a limit to it. Some people are too extreme, and this is their experience, but it doesn't mean that we have to embrace it. I'm convinced that we as European, we need a counter culture of biohacking or longevity. This is what I'm also trying to instill in a lot of different things that I'm doing in this field in France. Like we need like another version that is more appealing for people who hate discipline, who hate to feel uncomfortable. So yes, it's a hype, maybe. It's a trend. Well, it's definitely a shift, but we need something to counterbalance.
Mm.
Your other question, yes. And we've been talking a lot about what we call femtech, so like technology that are dedicated to women and women's physiologies and physiology. And it's true that some things that are offered in biohacking are not suitable for women. Intermittent fasting at certain times of your cycle, if you're still cycling, cold plunge, the same, certain times of your cycle. So, women, like always, are a bit more complicated or complex. We are complex beings, and this is what makes us very rich and, very multi layered, let's say. So, when we think about biohacking, there are definitely things that we can do. Optimize our sleep. We now know that women need more sleep than men, an average like 1 hour per night. Um, we are more sensitive to stress and different types of stress, and longer. Men have this up and then they can go back to their normal state very quickly. Women is a bit different. So there are things that we can do to have a control over our biology for sure. But just blindly following all the trends, no, it will be like a danger and not good on the long run, because that's also the thing. All the things that we're doing today, all the things that we're trying and experimenting with, we don't necessarily see the impact on our body now, but we might see it later.
Yeah.
And now we have a lot of discussion, new discussions like menopause, for instance. We need to take into consideration new aspects of our biology to make sure that we go through those life chapters with more ease and flexibility, let's say.
Mhm. I have a question. I'm getting curious, Chloe. You said, yes, there is like a lot of biohacks and biohacks, and for France or for Europe in general, we can have like our own version. And I know that you've been traveling a lot. You have, and correct me if I'm saying something wrong, a passion like for Japan. You've been also traveling like quite a lot in the Middle East region. Um, Knowing that we need something dedicated maybe like for Europe, what are your learnings or what are like the best practices that you've noticed from the region where when you went like to Asia or when you went to the Middle East that you found maybe striking or worth sharing in this area?
Um, so it's interesting because those things are uh, quite contradictory. So I would say that what I see in Japan is taking time for, to be on your own and reflect on your life, like your role in this life, your role in society. I'm not saying that Japanese people all do that. This is like my experience and how I experienced it. Um, so this.
Contemplation.
Hmm?
Contemplation, you would
Yes,
say.
a kind of contemplation and a kind of, but like embedded in your daily life. So really making sure that you spend a bit time, a bit of, a few moments every day on your own to kind of integrate all the things that you have, because this is also how you can then adjust. At the end of the day, longevity is also about like it's a constant adjusting, right? So making sure, oh, okay, this happened. Why did it happen? How did it make me feel? What can I do to not be in a situation again? And then I adjust. And so this is one thing that I really value in the Japanese culture. And when I'm in the GCC region in the Middle East, that a region that I absolutely love for different reasons. But one thing that I found fascinating is like their social the social nest or social network. People love to spend time with each other, at least to me, from what I'm seeing, like from being an outsider, it's very important to be with family, with friends. It's not about like the quantity, but the quality. So that kind of thing. Then we know that's the same. We now know that having a strong or a consistent social life is key to longevity. something that people also in Japan, because it's like a society that ages very fast, so there are like a lot of older people, they tend to cherish when they can on certain, you know, island of the country, but time with other people.
Mm. And this is fascinating what you're saying, because obviously when you see like documentaries about the blue zone, and one of them is in Okinawa, in Japan. There are also like another, if I'm recalling properly, in Sardinia, so a
Yeah,
bit closer to us. And you're right, it's the support system, like the family,
exactly.
um, and the nature, and all the aspect that you said about
Nature.
nurturing yourself in reflection and contemplation. Yeah.
Yeah, and having a purpose, huh? That was also one of those things. Having a purpose was equally as important. Mm.
Yes. And one thing that I want to say about this, Donna, is because I've found, and I'm sure that you too have this, you see this a lot in your practice with like coaching and mentoring a lot of people. Everyone is like, some people are stressed because they feel they don't have a purpose, or that their purpose is not big enough or whatever. And it seems that a lot of people want to perform as well with their purpose. And I think I think first, we don't have only one purpose. We can have many. And second, um, we need to find excitement in the mundane things. You know, if your purpose is to make sure that your neighborhood is, you know, like clean and safe, and yeah, it won't impact millions of people, but it will impact people who live with you. And that could be a purpose. So sometimes people want to, you know, they want to change the world, they want to have like a big impact, but they forget to look at like what's happening near them, and like in proximity, right? I think that raising a child can be a purpose for certain people, and that's absolutely fair. There is no shame to have because it's not big enough. I think we have to pay attention to that. So yes, to a purpose, but it's very individual. And yeah, some people have bigger purpose than others, and it doesn't make them
Mm.
better or whatever. But yes, purpose definitely.
I
Having like
love
what they
I
call
love
like a
how you bring it, you know, you keep going back to making things small. I think that is so important, and it's such an amazing takeaway also, you know, because we're so used, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's society, maybe it's our culture that's pushing us to think big, big, bigger. And I love how you keep making it very tangible for everyone, and just be like, you can make it small and get, you know, the
start with it.
stimulants. Yeah,
I'm all about, you know, being like delusional. I think it's very important to have like big dreams, but if you want to
yeah,
start and if you don't want to be like procrastinating, you need to start with like small things. And this is like the hardest. It's easy to have big dreams, you know, but it's difficult to showing up every single day to your little practice
yeah.
because we always found excuses. So, you know, like those, we all heroes and heroines, but at our own level. So we need to acknowledge that as well, I think.
Yeah, and
Very
when you
cool.
were yeah, really cool. And when you were talking about neighborhoods, spontaneously, I'm gonna share that with you, ladies. But it reminded myself when I was like in Malta, and on the street there were a lot of plants and a lot of flowers, and I was like, who is like just taking care of all those plants, and like that they bloom so properly and that they are so green, because Malta can be extremely dry and hot during summer, right? It reached like 40 plus. And there was like this little neighbor, you know, like just cherishing like the alley and making sure that it was like welcoming enough for the people passing by the street. And that was like that was making my day. I was like, oh my God, this is such a lovely street. So you're right. And
Yeah,
it's just a little step.
love that story.
Talking about wellness, like if we take like the lens of companies, because you are working with a lot of companies, um, and you as an expert like in this field, what are some of the misconceptions you've noticed with regards to wellness and how brands perceived wellness and longevity, if any?
Yes, I took some notes about that. I already mentioned it in earlier. The fact that we think that wellness is something that we have to conceptualize, that we have to sell. Yes, it's a trillion industry, so it's a huge industry, one of the fastest, fast growing industry nowadays. But what brands overlook is that, again, I keep coming back to that, wellness is in the details. This is how you will make people feel when they reach out to your customer service, when they receive their parcel, when you greet them, when they enter the shop, when they open the product. This is part of the wellness
The
experience.
experience. Okay.
And I think that this is something that people, they're like, oh, this is just a detail. But what makes something outstanding is like, it's like the sum of those details, right? So I always tell a company to not overlook those little things that, will really make a difference in people's life. Um, I remember, just to give you an example, my husband, he's now obsessed with finding his new perfume. And so he has ordered a few like samples. And there was this brand, he loved the name. And the name was really chic, really like, the quintessence of French luxury. It was not a big luxury brand, but and then he received the samples and it was not well wrapped. Like the branding was like very poor. It was such a disappointing experience for him. So, and it's not about the luxury aspect of it. It's just that if you decide to go to, to to have certain standards for your brand, you need to be consistent at all moments where you will meet your customer. So this is important. And the second thing that I often hear is that wellness is luxury, that I don't have the means to take care of myself. I don't have sometimes even the time, that this is, people think that this is luxury. This is something that is, again, for certain types of people. Uh, it's 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 not true. It's not true, and it shouldn't be treated as such. Luxury wellness can be an experience, and this is why you will see like a lot of incredible and beautiful spaces dedicated to wellness in Paris, in London, in Amsterdam, everywhere. But this is not what, this is one aspect of it. So for all the brands working in the wellness space, I always tell them to make sure that people feel like welcome, even though they don't have the means, especially because you never know. People who don't have the means now might have them later. So the more you have them in your, ecosystem, the better it is on the long run for your brand. So those are the two things that I think that people overlook, when brands overlook when they think about uh, wellness.
Hmm. I have another one actually for you, which is I think a combination of those two. It's this whole trend, and it's about beauty as well. So the aesthetics. I'm not sure if it really touches on this wellness part, but it was a couple of days ago that I heard about it. I had to look it up, of course, because I didn't know. And apparently it's been a thing for a minute, but it was Kim Kardashian who was talking about getting some sort of facial where there is salmon sperm that's injected into her face to make her look younger. Apparently already a thing in Korea. I had never heard about it, but it's one of those things where I was thinking, really, is that really a thing? Is it proven that it works? And should we be looking at that as a new normal into looking youthful? Do you know about this trend? Have you heard about it? What's the deal?
Yes, I've heard about it. What fascinates me about beauty and people who love beauty is their curiosity, and they will experiment. uh, every day there, there is like a new thing, a new fad, a new trend about, especially now with TikTok and its virality potential. So we have like a lot of things happening. So I've heard of it. I know a few people in Paris who are doing it, or at least interested in doing it. It sounds interesting. I think, um, it sounds at least a bit more natural than Botox, let's say, for instance. Maybe it's just like the naming, but the industry also has to serve people who have certain, like uh, limits, or certain, how could we call it, like uh, I don't know the word now, but don't feel like attracted or to do like Botox or fillers or whatever. Even with Botox and fillers, we see like it's like a cycle. Now
Mm.
it's kind of, fading away. People are like, oh no, actually it's not good, blah blah blah. So it's interesting, and we'll see. This is what also keeps the industry alive. It's not necessarily good, because you cannot keep up with trends, and you shouldn't. I should actually try everything that is up there. Um, and one way that I made peace with all of that is that I think a lot of things can work. Some things work better than others, for sure. But in the end, it's like a being an hamster in a wheel.
Mm.
You'll never stop, because there is always something new, always more, always this. There is a moment you need to make peace with that, and um, try something if you want to, but not being obsessed. And again, coming back to this, it's way more important to take care of yourself on a daily basis for your entire life than believing that those quick fix will make you feel and look younger.
Mm.
And another thing is also, and it's all about like the mindset, we now know that some people don't look their biological or chronological age. And we now know that it's because they have like a very young mindset, meaning they're curious, they're excited about life, they very like open-minded, that kind of thing. So usefulness and vitality also comes from your the way you look at life. So there is hope for all of us who don't necessarily want to, you know, invest in salmon sperm facials. Uh, Also known as, I love that, polynucleotide treatments.
Yeah,
The more
exactly.
It sounds like much more technical.
exactly, and it is technical, and this is something that people are really into. Like I what I've been observing is the rise of what I called like the science intellectual. So now everyone is a
Yes.
scientist. Everyone wants
Right.
to understand science, which is amazing because we need science, right? We need people who are interested. But again, there is no quick fix, magic pill.
This is so funny because before talking to you with Donna, we were saying that thanks to ChatGPT, or thanks or because of ChatGPT, everyone improvised themselves as a doctor or as a GP, and it's like, oh, I have this. What could it be? And then you can go to your doctor, or you go to the doctor, and you say, hey, I have that, and obviously there are like many other symptoms or many other things that you can diagnose, and that maybe you are biased also in the way that you prompt ChatGPT. So it's funny that you're saying, yes, we are becoming, or we are eager like to learn more about it. I just want to build on what Donna was saying, and also taking advantage of your perspective. What do you see as the, and I don't want to use ChatGPT for that, and maybe also getting your view on ChatGPT and trend forecasting, but with regards to longevity and wellness, what are the next or the upcoming trends or shift that you see coming, that you see bubbling, that might become bigger and bigger in the next years?
In
Or
the field of longevity and wellness, or in general?
fully. So, or you can go broad if you want. You can go big, but yes, in your field.
So, one thing that I think will become the new normal in a few years, and now the industry is starting to look at it. I'm talking about the bank industry. In a few years, it will be completely normal for people in their 60s and their 70s to have a loan, to maybe open a shop or open a coffee shop or whatever it is, because we'll be living the average, lifespan or health span will be life expectancy, sorry, will be like 100 years, let's say, for instance. So, of course, it will be completely acceptable to go to your bank in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and they won't look at you like, like time is
Time is
ticking.
ticking.
No, and now I was talking to someone the other day who told me that now, like medicine is like the medical and scientific advancement are so fast now. Everything is going so fast that we cannot predict how long someone will live anymore. It's not possible. Now we can cure things that we couldn't cure anymore. Some diseases are new and then could like disappear after a few I'm generalizing, but lifestyle tweak, that kind of thing. So we cannot say this anymore. So banks need to understand that it's time for them to sit down, to come together and to think about what it would feel to have older people asking for a loan, older people who want to launch new projects after they're retired, that kind of things, or buy a house or whatever, because this is not what they've been told. They've been told, this is the perfect uh,
Blueprint.
person you should loan money to. So I see this big. And another thing that I see is, and this is linked to the rise of AI and AI generated content. I think that we'll go back to more private and analog experiences. So now what I've been noticing is that people write AI generated content, nothing wrong about that. And then in the comments, it's like AI generated comments. So it's only like, it's not that where are the humans? And then, so at the end of the day, we all want to learn from our peers. So I think we will see the rise of private communities, of memberships where people gather privately in real life or online, where they can have proper discussion instead of being flooded with information that they don't need, that hasn't been written by humans. When they start to go through the comments to learn and to meet new people, this is not interesting. So I think people will start to be less on social media and more into those private communities. And the second thing is, because now with AI and especially like AI generated videos, we'll have a strong, like a real hard time to differentiate what's real from what's not. But maybe we don't want to spend too much time trying to find out if it's real or not. So we will go back to something that feels real. So physical experiences, physical newspapers, physical um, magazines, like things that are not online. Because if I'm going online and I'm not sure whether what I'm currently reading is true or not, and I don't want to bother with that, at least with a magazine,
Mm.
it's like a proper experience, right? So this is something that I see that quite unexpected, because everyone was like, okay, this is the end of print, etc. I'm not sure. I think it will have a comeback. Just like, like the newsletter, the blog, everyone was like, news, it's that, it's that. No, it's not. It's booming.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. I think you're right. I can already see, with this whole this younger generation, what you now see also in schools, that they're banning mobile phones, and it's more about socializing, connecting, real human connections. That's why we started our podcast.
It's great.
You
We
can
need
see
that.
that it's developing towards that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And it won't be easy because there are like a different forces, at work, but at least there's some movement, and people are a bit like fed up with content that doesn't feel
Yeah.
authentic, interaction that doesn't don't feel as authentic. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Chloe. We could
Thank
go
you.
and on and on and on and on.
Thank you
Uh,
so much. It was such a nice conversation. Thank you
yeah,
for
no,
listening
thanks a
in.
lot. I don't know, Donna, if you have like any further question that you would like to ask.
No, we've spoken about so much, and I thought it was such, a takeaway that I have from all of this is um, focusing also on the small stuff, the
Mm.
little things that bring joy, satisfaction, that you can, use to give direction to your day, appreciation. I really loved the conversation, Chloe. Thanks so much for your time. It was really, really rich.
Mm,
Thank you for your time, and thank you again for the invitation. And again, the only struggle that people will see with those small things is that they're not scalable, and we all obsessed with scalability. So we might need to also reconsider our values and how we relate to our life. And it's not because it's not scalable that it doesn't have any value. Rather the contrary, because it's we're here for a long run, like we
Yeah.
want to live until 100. So it's only the beginning.
true, we're so young.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. On that note, I'm sensing like a lot of gratitude coming like from our way to your way and sending you like tons of positive energy.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for all those insights. I learned so much. As I said, I could go on and
I'm
on and
pleased to
on.
hear that. And I
And
learned so much as well, like it's never like on just one direction. It's like, the way you present yourself, the way you interact, the way you prepare the interview. It's all about the details again. So it was a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Maybe
yeah,
one more thing, Chloe. If we want to keep following your directions with regards to trends or with regards to, what you're saying and doing in the outside world, where can we find you?
So I'm pretty active depending on the moments, but I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So this is where I share a lot. A bit of Instagram, but not that much. So mainly LinkedIn these days.
Okay.
Still playing with the idea of, starting a newsletter or podcast, but for now my focus is on something else. So yes, but maybe one day we'll have time.
Yeah. And you can always come back if you have more trends, let us know and we'll schedule a next meeting.
I would love that.
with
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
To everyone else, we were just going to say goodbye. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for being here. Join us again next time. And for now, Chloe, Sandrine, thank you.
Thank
Everyone, see
you.
you next time.
See
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.